chair of the widow program.
We will call the Selectmen's meeting for December 9th, 2013 to order. First order of business, approved minutes from the previous meeting.
I can't read them. One of the glasses they come in. Lost it there.
I have a question. I wasn't here, but Alan suggested the Selectmen's meeting scheduled for Monday, December 23rd, be moved to Monday, December 20th. Is that
30th?
No, I just told you.
Would it be 30th?
Yeah.
30th.
Second the motion. Been moved and seconded to accept the minutes as read, except with the correction of the 20th to the 30th for the Monday, December 30th for the meeting. All those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. Financial, before the warrants, $47,085.71. Warrant of 34.
Now, you
Got the wrong one again. Okay.
Glasses. Oh,
Give me the glasses.
Yeah, there we go. Do that, huh? $49,589.33. I liked last week's. 2 weeks ago's minutes better. We got more money in the bank. Warrant of $43,285.88. Payroll warrant 11/26 of $2,920.56. 12/5 payroll warrant of $1,201.55, leaving us a balance of $2,181.34. Old business. Review merger minutes.
should say merger proposal, actually, more so than merger minutes.
This is Columbia Fire.
Yes, and it really should be merger proposal instead of minutes. The merger proposal. Sure. It's not where we are, it's a merger.
Oh, that one, oh, I thought that was for the...
No, that's the special town meeting minutes, that's the merger.
Do I have that?
I asked you if you
Yes,
brought
you
it
got
with you,
this,
did you bring
I
it?
think.
Oh, that,
Yeah, you
yeah,
got
I'm
this.
familiar with that.
Okay. So I can go
Dave,
make
do you
the
have
coffee.
anything to add to this? About
I was going to mention it later on, but I'm glad you brought up now. We're meeting on the 18th again. We've been meeting up at the Columbia Town Office. Our goal is to wrap this up and get it ready for an public informational meeting, kind of a joint meeting. We're planning on doing this up at the Columbia Town Hall on the 15th of January. That's a Wednesday night, 7 p.m. And we'd like to report that to this town because each town has to announce it to their own citizens. But it will be held up there, and that's at the point where we want to present all of the things that we've studied, what we're going to propose, how things will be structured. We'll have our charter finished. Actually, it's pretty well finished right now, the merger agreement, if you will, to present to both groups, both towns, and their citizens. That is our goal right now. So we do need to advertise that here. However, Nancy does that magically. And I suppose you need, 2 weeks notice? Yeah. And that, I'm pretty sure that that's been agreed upon by the folks up there as well, your peers up there. So that's the plan right now. And of course, after that, we'll be taking lots of input, and then we will be formulating warrants for both towns to be presented at the respective town meetings. And that's the plan.
Okay. Any questions? Okay.
I was hoping somebody would question the name of it.
Epping Volunteer Fire
But it's going to be
Department?
just,
You have a problem with that name?
Dave,
yes.
Jay's wondering why Epping Volunteer Fire Department.
That's a good point.
I was hoping somebody would bring it up, so I brought it up.
Well, that's what we came up with the other night, and I think Joanne came up with that. And I came up with Little River, but it's 2 words instead of 1. The problem we have right now is we do have this informal, it's not an official entity, but we have this thing called the Pleasant River Fire District. And that was our first thought is the term Pleasant River. Because that's a body of water that is between both towns. Well, Little River is too, but again, it's 2 words. Epping Road runs through both towns. So the reason that she chose that, she thought that would be, it's an easy word and it would be symbolic, and it would, it wouldn't, because if you could call it the Columbia Falls Fire Department, because that's a lot of words. So we're trying to come up with something that's meaningful and brief, because there's a lot of chatter during the fire call. So that's how we thought it was a pretty good idea. Again, I'm sure the public may or may have some other ideas, and we're open to them.
Does that satisfy your question?
Thank you.
As long as it's not the Tibbetstown Fire Department, that's just
Come on now.
All right, we'll move on to Washington County Council of Governments. Bun.
Okay, I came in this morning about the same time that Tony was calling my house, and I talked to Nancy briefly, and I wondered, and maybe Tony might still have an interest because of the Union Hall, but I wondered, with no longer the need for insulation, and there is no money available for the sand and salt shed, and she couldn't promise anything in the near future. So what I was wondering, is there any sense of us, for instance, we have a meeting, dinner meeting tomorrow and another one in January, is there any need of us following up on that? Well, what are your thoughts, Tony?
Well, I didn't know we were going to talk about this tonight, but I have thought about it in the past, and after our meeting, last time we had a meeting, I gathered up all the information I could on what they provide us. What I would like to do personally, is give you each a copy of what they provide each town and what their function is. And then perhaps you would have a better understanding of it. If I had to vote one way or the other, I don't know. I have had the same thoughts you have, Bud. Do I say we get out? I'm not 100% sure, but if we're never going to use them, and if there's no, if you determine there's no, then we shouldn't be paying to be involved with it. But I'll make a copy of everything I've come up with, and I'll drop it off at Town Hall this week.
Now, our annual dues are what, $250?
Which is going to go up, from what they were talking about.
Okay.
It's $250 right now, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it's going to go up for every town.
Now, are there majority of the towns in Washington County?
All of them.
All of them?
I believe all of them.
Almost all of them, right.
Right, I don't.
But there are towns like Columbia. I asked Columbia Selectmen if they belonged, and they said yes. And I said, do you ever, because Tony and I have attended religiously since
Yeah.
we got involved. They've never been there, and I said, do you ever send people? Oh, no, we never send anybody there. But they belong. And there are of all the towns in Washington County, I think I counted, and then again, there was some towns like Newsport that had 3 or 4 representatives. I think I counted something like 30 people there. That was including Tony and I.
Well, I think to help you with any decisions as a board, I'll bring that in, and like I said, I've gathered a lot of information. I haven't really sat down and read about it, but all of it, because I didn't know it was coming up, but I'll take a look at it, and I'll leave the information for you guys.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. Any other old business?
No.
We'll move on to new business, approved minutes of town meeting.
Motion to accept them as read.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the minutes as read. All those in favor? Three in favor, none opposed. Do you have a copy for us to sign? Next item of new business is mail for selectmen.
Well, I would like to have a little bit of clarification on this, because I've been called out at 2 public meetings that I haven't given the selectmen certain papers or certain documents. And in the past, they've always been put in the selectmen's boxes for the selectmen to pick up. So the things that I was accused of not distributing were in the selectmen's boxes and had been but the first time was more than a week, and the second time was at least a week. So I just would like clarification, because I do not want to be called out in public again, if I'm supposed to mail everything to you that comes into this office. Alan comes in and picks his mail up at least once a week, if not more. But I'd like to know how you want it handled so that this can be straightened out. They do have boxes in there, assessors pick up their mail, everybody does, but if you'd prefer it done a different way, then I need to be let know that.
Well, I get in when I can to get my mail. I work daylight to dark, lots of days.
And I was sick in the house, I wasn't out of the house for 2 weeks, so I couldn't very well pick it up. And I didn't know that there was anything down here.
Well, Sally said at the special town meeting that you hadn't seen.
No, I didn't.
It was the, so I just was wondering how, I mean, and this happened at another meeting. I was accused of not getting things to you. So I just, want to know how you want to handle it.
I think, for one, if it's anything important, I think it ought to be mailed.
I guess I'd make a motion that we mail everything and then let the selectmen decide what's important and what's not.
Right,
That
but
way we get all the information. That way there's no,
because then I'll be
no
accused of
mix-ups.
deciding what's important and what's
right,
not.
Just
I'll second that.
been moved and seconded to mail to the selectmen. All those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. Any other new business?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
At the previous meeting, you had made a motion and seconded that you would, or I approved the motion that you would do the finances at the first meeting of the month. It's not on the agenda for tonight.
The reason it wasn't on the agenda for tonight is because I had been told by more than one selectman that it was very difficult to review them in such a short period of time, but I have them here for you.
take it for unclassified, we do that at the very last warrant of the year, other than the alumni.
Yeah.
That's been dispersed.
Well, when they send out the request, usually the Pleasant River Ambulance doesn't send theirs until late. So they all send, the ones that we've approved send written requests for them.
So we don't pay that until they send.
Till they send, and usually,
Toward the end of the year.
towards the end of the year.
I guess I have a question. After the vote last Tuesday night, does the lease payments terminate as of November?
I would guess that they wouldn't terminate until it's legally their building.
Right.
Okay.
They've paid for December,
All
but
right.
I would think until it's legally theirs, we would continue as we spend.
I guess I have another question pertaining to that article that was in the warrant. It directed the selectmen to negotiate with Rees across America and with the legal advisors. I always thought negotiations was give and take. How do we give and take when we've already given? In the true sense of negotiation.
I don't think we've actually given yet. I think that article hinges on successful negotiation, the way I take it. I mean,
So, you don't think that legally we've given it to them? What did that vote do then?
Gave you permission to give it to them.
Okay.
That's the way I took it,
All right.
is that we would negotiate.
Alan, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Was the town attorneys involved in drafting that article?
I don't believe it, no.
Was the Maine Municipal Association consulted?
I don't think so, no.
For the article, there's some problems with that. And did you make a statement at that town meeting that, don't worry, we won't give the store away?
That's correct.
I think the voters gave the store away. I don't see that you have any bargaining chips left.
Maybe we don't. I believe we do.
You've got some problems. Mr. Ward is right. You've got some problems with the way that article was worded. If your attorney had done that, I'd say you've got grounds to fire him, because he's supposed to be looking
No.
out for the town.
We didn't have an audit. We did not have an attorney do that.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
Do you three have a plan on how to negotiate this?
The way I interpreted the whole thing is that she would come forth with a proposal, a written proposal. The three of us would look at it, make changes, add things, we'd send it back to them. it would go that way several times before we got lawyers involved. I think we should be right down to where we all agree on all of the things that we think we need to agree on. That's the way I took it now. I'm just one.
Because I was out of the loop there for 2 weeks, so I came away from that meeting feeling that we'd given the building away. Anybody else have that same feeling?
I think you have given it away, but I think it's up to you, the three of you and the lawyers to decide the final things, right?
That's the way I
Want it all.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We've given it away, but the terms on what we're given and how we're giving it can all be determined by you.
Until we've actually signed some kind of a deed, we haven't given it away, the way I look at it. I mean, I think there's a lot of negotiation, give and take here, that's gonna come.
And what do you feel, that you should wait till the first of the year when they get calmed down to do this?
At least after Christmas, you know, 1st of January. I think we should approach them and say, look, come forth with something other than what you sent in your original draft. Get down to the nuts and bolts, and we'll start negotiating. What do you think, fellas? I mean,
You know, if that's legal.
No, it's legal or not.
When you voted, when the town voted to convey the building, that's personal property, that's not real estate. Again, whoever worded that article, you know, like I say, I'm glad to hear the attorney didn't do that, because I would get rid of that attorney. I've been doing this for 40 years plus, and I think Phil Lister tried without success to get through to the people there that night that this negotiating should go on before you vote on it. If I ever did what you did, I'd be subjected to a lawsuit if I was an agent for a seller or a giver, whatever you want to call it, and I didn't protect their interests, I'd be in a lot of trouble. And when you have no contingencies in your article, which you didn't have any, they could come to you next week and say, give us a copy of the deed, because it's your responsibility as the conveyor or the grantor to produce the deed for the buyer. They could say, we're ready to close, bring us a copy of the deed. And you could say, well, wait a minute, we've got to negotiate. And they could say, that isn't what you voted to do. And you could say, well, we've got a written proposal. And then you can go to court and you can, what was the intent? Hopefully it doesn't happen, or you'll have more legal expenses than you would have had if you'd fixed the building. But read that article over very carefully. You did not, the town did not vote to convey the real estate. A building is personal property, and you can give a bill of sale for personal property. You could, if you want to try to fix it, maybe you call another special town meeting and get an article drafted by an attorney to do what it is that you want to do. Just something to think about.
Tony?
I think it makes a lot of sense, but the town has spoken. The town has voted to convey the building over with you as a board to, progress that. But I would just add, since Dick brought up a lot of legalities, and maybe your next step ought to say, hey, the town has voted to give this to them. What do you think, Mr. Attorney? He must be on a retainer or something, I mean, a phone call. How do you see this going ahead? I certainly don't think we need to have another meeting to say, yes, we still want to give it away, or give it to them.
What do you think, guys?
There's no lawyer.
Huh?
I'm no lawyer.
Well, I know, but you're not.
I,
This is why we
And
approved the
everything.
article, right?
if everything goes good, then that's fine, but if it don't,
Alan, Dick mentioned that this is personal property. I'm sure he knows, he's been in real estate 40 years. I had a dealing with a bank today to buy a mobile home. And a mobile home is not personal property if it's on property. If it's off property, it's personal property. If it's on a property, it's a home. It's like this is real estate. It
On a
gets
property.
taxed as real estate, right, Dick? I mean, it's not personal property tax here. This is a building and it's property. So we gave the property away. The building takes property. That's a given.
No, it isn't.
Well,
I'm
you
sorry.
know more about it than I do. I'm just stating what I know.
That's right, I do.
You know
I
more
hope
about
I
it.
do, after 40 years of doing it.
Yeah, I know you do.
A mobile home on a piece of land is personal property.
I wish you'd tell the bank that to me. I've been fighting with them for 2 weeks, so I wish you'd tell them that. I guess I'll take them to court and I'll have to do it with my lawyer.
Most deeds and most contracts you draw up, they will say conveying the real estate with the buildings thereon. I've never seen it say, will convey the building with the lands thereunder. Have you ever seen that?
No, I have.
No, I don't.
It's all according to who's interpreting the law, too. So, I mean, that's why a lawyer needs to be involved, not just us. I mean, we can state all kinds of...
Well, I think that's why a lawyer should have been involved in drafting the article that people were asked to vote on. The information sheet I got from this town did not even mention that article. I was surprised when I read the article based on what you people had talked about at a previous selectmen's meeting. That was, what I heard said before I read that article was more along the lines of what Philip Worcester was trying to get across unsuccessfully, that there'd be negotiations leading up to the giving the property to Reese Across America. I don't know why an attorney wasn't involved when you drafted that article. And maybe an attorney would say that, oh, you're fine. The most basic thing I've ever learned, and I'm not an attorney, but intent in the law is everything. But then you can go to court. What the heck was the intent? And the lawyers love it. Your lawyer's going to look at that article and just, wow, he is going to be so happy. The Reese Across America's lawyer's going to look at it, wow. And they're going to shake their head in disbelief.
I think that would be true if you had two arriving bodies here, but I think one is trying to help the other, and I don't think that's a point. I don't think, if someone was fighting the issue, it might be. There's no fighting,
I hope so.
She's trying to help the town, or Reese Across America trying to help the town, the town's trying to get out from underneath the debt. I don't see where anybody's fighting against it.
I think Karen has put herself in a position that, you know, she's done a great job selling Reese Across America. It's like selling mother an apple pie. She's done a great job. When I attended the committee meetings, she was very uncomfortable. She didn't like the heat that her proposal had generated of the questions, and now I feel bad for Karen. I don't think she has a clue what she's getting into. It's a whole different ballgame. I don't know of anybody against Reese Across America. Who's against mother and apple pie? Who's against patriotism? I haven't met them in my lifetime. But yet, and again, she's got to answer to the Board of Trustees and their lawyer, and if they're happy with everything and everybody thinks we're working together to help the town, isn't that nice?
I think you've got three gentlemen up here, you got to take care of that.
Yeah, I heard Alan's statement at the meeting. We're not going to give away the store. But they can't give away the store. The town has done that.
And we still got the town office.
Yeah, I'd like to see the wording in the deed, how that's going to be taken care of.
I ain't gonna do that.
I think my biggest concern is the neighbor over here. I think, hope that she doesn't get involved with her lawyer.
I think I've got to agree with Tony. It's senseless to have another meeting because people are going to vote the same way. And I think maybe, as Tony suggested, it might be good to contact Maine Municipal or our lawyer, or both, and see how we can circumvent the wording of that article.
See, I guess I don't feel that we have to circumvent anything because we haven't even started negotiations yet. I mean, if they come to us tomorrow and say, yeah, we want a copy of the deed, then I think we better call another meeting.
But negotiations, Ellen, is give and take, and the town's game. We don't have anything to give.
But you're not Reeds Across America. You can't negotiate or think how they're thinking, can you? I mean,
I'm sure that they're ready to accept. I have
Oh, I'm
no
sure they
question
are.
that they're going to oppose it.
you think they'll oppose negotiation?
Okay.
If you do, say so. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, you know, I'm sure that their attorney is smart enough to realize that we don't have anything to negotiate.
You really think that that's what they're out to do?
No.
Is just to take the town?
No.
I mean, I'm
no.
not saying it couldn't happen, but I don't think they're out just to take,
No, I don't think they are
take the
either.
town, and I don't think their lawyer would be out to take
But
the
I
town.
don't see why they need to bother.
Excuse me.
Why don't you cross that bridge when you get there?
You don't think they need to bother what?
To negotiate.
Oh, okay.
They didn't need to take this, they didn't need to take this building.
No.
They didn't need the building.
I don't.
I believe what Karen said, that they were trying to help us, and I think they'll negotiate the best interest of the town to do that. That's what you three have to do, is negotiate with them. We can't do it, you can. And you need to do it.
And I think it's a win-win situation for them and the town. I just want to make that clear. I'm not saying you should scrap anything you've done already. I'm just saying maybe have your town lawyer. Simple, easy thing to do. Say, this is where we're at. What do you think? Just so you don't get 10 miles down the road and find out, hey, wait a minute.
I agree.
Not to say we should change direction, because I think it's a great situation that an opportunity that we have.
One of the meetings I attended with Karen, and it was not the first illegal one, so everybody says, it was the one we attended. Did she mention lawyers? She said to me at one point that she'd contacted a lawyer. And the first thing that lawyer wanted them to do was do a background check, so to speak, or I forget the word she used, but to see if there was any cleanup needed to be done on this site. If it was a brown field or she says, I never mentioned anything again. I don't want to get involved in that. We want the building. That's what I got out of it, that we would convey ownership once the negotiations were complete.
I wasn't to that meeting. That was a 6 o'clock meeting, and I was working.
Yes, John.
Since we're talking about all of this, if it comes to having another town meeting, or before we have another town meeting, there has been some conversation about the fact that at least 2 people voted in this immediate past town meeting who have not lived in the town of Columbia Falls for a long time. And I think it would be good for the town to look into what constitutes residency, which I believe is how you get to vote in a town. And so, because, and on that basis, if somebody wanted to, I think they could legally challenge the validity of the town meeting. So it would be good to get that cleared up before another town meeting is needed for anything. And
See, the one bargaining chip you do have is, however that article, whether it was a mistake or however it happened, you now do have, I think, one bargaining chip. If something, if they didn't cooperate and do what you think they were gonna do, I think that article, unless word gets out, I think that article might be a bargaining chip, because if they tried to hold you up to something that wasn't in the best interest of the town, then you kind of got that, well, legally, maybe that article doesn't quite do it. You know, we may need another vote of it. So you got a bargaining chip.
I'd just like to say to the board and the citizens here, Saturday night at the Reads Across America send-off dinner that they had here, Karen Worcester stood right over there in front of the wreath that's going to the Statue of Liberty, and she announced to a crowd of 175 people or so that were here that Columbia Falls had voted to convey the building to Reads Across America pending negotiations. That was her words. So, I mean, I think maybe at leisure mind, you know, that's what she had to say.
may I just follow up on that? You used the word convey, and was that the word in the article? I don't recall. Because I think the word...
I don't know, Johnny, I don't know if she said the word convey, but she said, you know, the town of Columbia Falls had voted to turn the building over to, or convey, whatever, you know, she used a word similar to that, pending negotiation.
I'm thinking if the word convey were in the article.
It is.
Okay.
I don't know about the word pending. I'm not
Convey.
sure that was it.
No, that was her words. That was her words Saturday night.
That isn't what we voted to do.
Well, that was her words Saturday night, so.
But to convey something to someone, it doesn't...
To authorize the selectmen to manage all negotiations and legal matters involved with the transfer. Pending wasn't in that article.
And I didn't say, she said pending, they didn't.
Yeah.
So she is willing to
I mean, she inferred pending, you know, I mean.
Yeah. So she's on the...
Right, she's not thinking, well, they're gonna turn it over next, I don't believe she was intending, they're gonna turn it over next week, just
I don't expect...
give it to us. You know, she expected that there would be some give and take, the way she talked, the way I heard it.
She has to answer to that board of trustees.
They were here.
And a lot of them were here.
And it said manage in there, for the selectmen to manage, and that, what you just read. So that means they've got to
And she has
manage
said
this process.
what she intends, and she has written in what she intends, and she lives here, and there comes a point in time, I think, that you have to trust that she meant what she said.
But it isn't all up to her, that's all.
Right, she has a board that she has to answer to, that's correct.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
when you're done with that, I've got a question on something you took up a little bit earlier.
Any other,
I was just going to say, when we took this building, when the town took this building, the town voted whether or not they wanted to accept it. There weren't any negotiations ahead of time, there weren't any agreements, there were nothing. The town said, we want you selectmen to take it. And then Vance Pinio said to me, you need to trust your selectmen to do what's best for your town. And then the selectmen decided that the town office would be in here, and then the selectmen decided what we would be renting. That wasn't done at a town meeting. None of that was done. We had to trust our board to do what was best for our town. And I feel the people spoke that they're ready to convey this building, and now they've put their trust in you to do what's best for this town yet again. That's my own thoughts on what I took from the meeting.
I think that's great, and I don't think if what Mike just conveyed to us, and I'm sure it's true, and if her attorney and the board doesn't go against that, I don't see any problem. But I guess I would be, well, I would beware, and I think I'd follow Tony's advice still.
If there is a problem, people can change their mind.
Yeah.
I mean, we can have another meeting and vote to not convey it and start from scratch again. I mean, they do that all the time in Congress. The only time they don't is when they vote themselves raised, so, you know. I mean, people can change their mind.
Right.
I mean, nothing says we can't have another meeting.
Alan, the only thing that was different in the article for giving the building to Reeds Across America and the article, the warrant article to accept the building from the SAD, was the fact that Muriel Smith, as she always did, said the article has to be legal, and she talked with either Maine Municipal or the town's attorney. And so that's always good advice.
Any other new business? Before we move on, Mr. Farnsworth?
The only question I had is on your having mail sent to the selectmen. Would you advise Nancy as to how often you want that sent? Daily, weekly? I mean, you gave a direction, but, I mean, does she send, I don't think you told her how often she needs to send that stuff.
I don't think it needs to be done daily. I would think weekly would be fine.
I mean, I just bring that up so that so that everything's clear.
Weekly?
That's fine.
Okay. Officers and committees, Dave, you want to add anything else?
Well, we discussed the minutes of the consolidation committee. The other thing I want to bring up, this is something that's been in the back of my mind since the 150th celebration. I'd like to get the fire marshal inspector back down to do an inspection of the Union Hall for a dance hall permit there. That way, if something comes up, we're ready for it. And just thinking about what Tony had mentioned in the last few weeks about their committee working on renovating the building, it'd probably be a good time to get that fire inspector in, give us some suggestions, maybe look at the plans they have, and you know, try to maximize the use of the building. You know, because capacity is an issue, and I learned, you know, quite a bit when, Jay, you were there when we had the visit, that an architect may decide that, you know, it's good for a certain amount of people, but once you start throwing in other criteria such as tables and chairs and alleyways and stuff like that, your capacity does go down a bit. So I'd like to take action on that, probably getting down in January, and work with Tony on their project as well.
There's no cost to the town unless there's a permit required, correct?
Well, and that's the thing is, if you know, we should probably, because there has been the thing in the past there, the ball, if someone did want to have some type of activity in there, we do need to have a permit before we can allow that.
I don't believe that they charge municipalities for permits like that. That's what he told me. They didn't charge for that one.
Yeah.
This one.
Well, actually, technically they do. They gave us a freebie on that one, but the only, according to the law, the only entities that are exempt from the permitting process fees are schools. So there'll be a bill, and I can't remember exactly what that was for.
$117.
117? Yeah, okay, that sounds right.
But you don't need that permit until you have an event there, right?
Right, that's true.
Question, do you have to get that every year?
No, it's just a one-time
Just one thing.
thing. So I was hoping, you know, just a preemptive strike to go ahead and do the permit, pay the money, and that way the place is ready.
Makes sense to me. I make a motion, we do just that. Get the fire marshal down to inspect the town hall, union hall, historic town hall, whatever you want to call it. Seconded? All- Been moved and seconded. All those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. We'll let you go ahead and call?
Right.
Okay.
We'll take
Thanks,
care of
Dave.
it. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, that's
Okay.
all.
Thank you.
Along with that, I would advise the selectmen not to vote to spend any money inside Union Hall until you know where you're going to get your water and your septic. Because without those things, the kitchen and bathroom isn't going to be much of any good down there.
Okay. Tony, union hall?
I'm looking forward to working with Dave and Fire Marshal. We talked about it earlier, so we'll look into that in January. There will be a meeting at my house, 6 o'clock on Thursday night, this Thursday, the 12th. I don't have anything else to ask, other than if you've had a chance to look at the drawing that we submitted to you. And if I could just let John know that, yes, we do have an idea where the power and the water are going to go into the building. Was that your concern, John?
Septic is a
Septic,
concern.
yeah, we have a preliminary
And,
drawing.
Water. Where are you going to get the water?
Water, well, if it comes, we have a sketch from across the road. It's going to be channeled across the road. So, but
Yeah.
that's, we're putting we haven't
No,
gotten that far
but
yet.
Where have you got permission to use that water?
In the past, there's been some, I couldn't tell you right now, but we have some documentation on that already.
No, you don't.
Yes, we do. Sorry, John.
Well, I'm one of the major stockholders of the Allen Water Company.
We have a drawing of where the water's going to go across
So
the road.
You need permission from the Allen Water
Well,
Company.
we're not hooking up yet. So we're not,
Right.
I'm not going to ask for permission to hook into your water until we're ready to do it.
I wouldn't put in a bathroom without knowing what I was going to get my water.
Okay, thank you, John.
All set, Tony?
Almost set.
Okay.
What about the drawings? We got off kilter here a little bit.
You had a chance to look at them at all?
Yeah, I've looked at them a little, but I mean, I got a concern about Brick Campbell's septic system's right in the front yard there, you know, you gotta go through a feed line or something if you're gonna hook water up. As a site contractor, you know, you start at the lowest point in the ground, work your way up. And I don't know.
What do you suggest?
Before I put plans out for bathroom, I'd wanna make sure I could get the stuff run downhill to the
So you don't
tank
think,
and-
you have a concern that we may not be able to get water or sewer into that building? Is that
well,
your
I
concern?
think, you know, you need to look into the issues. I know there's a bag sand filter right there in that front lawn somewhere, an overboard
Oh,
discharge
I know
system.
exactly where it is.
And so, if you're going 5 feet in the ground, you need to get around that, or if you know, you've got shoring issues and
Well,
other things
Jay,
there,
let me just put it this way. Our committee works for you, so what would you like to have done?
Well,
What would you like the next step to be?
I don't know, before I spend all kinds of money inside that building, I'd wanna make sure I could get my toilet
You
hooked up.
let us know,
You
please.
know, that's all
Yep, just let us know what you want us to do.
you know, that would be my concern.
Have you had,
Money down the drain.
have you had the plumbing
So to speak.
inspector there, Tony?
What's that?
Have you had the plumbing inspector there?
No, who is the plumbing inspector?
Jay, the line that you talk about for the sand filter and that, when I put the ramp up there and everything, I went right over where the box is.
Right,
That's down, that is down a good 4 feet.
right.
Obviously, it runs uphill some
The
towards
box,
his
that's
place.
the chlorinator box, wasn't it?
That's right.
All right, well, the sand filter is upstream from there, towards the house from there.
I think it's on the left-hand side of the walkway. Am I not?
But the preliminary,
No,
the
not from there far.
drawings for the septic system that they have shows it just in front of the monument that's on as you walk up to the building on the right-hand side right there.
There must be plans for that system somewhere.
Yeah, they've got the plans, I've seen the
We
plans.
have plans for that, and we have plans for somebody,
Shows
I don't
the
know what it
system
is,
on it
John
and
says it isn't, but it shows a pipe going across the road into another pipe, so I don't know.
Well, I'm sure what they, whoever drew them up, glass or whatever, at one point in time, probably figured, maybe without asking yet or whatever, obviously Allen Water Company's line runs down through there. That would be, in my mind, I'll put it that way, that'd be the logical place to hook into, given the permission from the Allen Water Company, obviously. Now, having said that, yes, that system's chlorinated, they don't charge anything for it. Where that will lend you, I don't know, as far as a public water supply. They have it tested, Ned. I'm not saying anything against the Allen Water Company whatsoever. But how that, and there again, right here, I'm sure you're on it,
Well,
so I'm sure you're fine, but.
I mean, I haven't seen the plan, I don't know where the bag system is or anything else, but if you dig through that, you know, for whatever reason, then you've got repair or replacement or whatever.
Well, right now, you have a drawing for the inside, what we call phase one of construction. So it's totally up to you folks that if you want to go ahead with that, or you want to stop and see where the sand filters are, or what you would like to do.
Well, we've looked at drawings, anyway.
Town does, that was a town first, and the town should have them somewhere, but he's got them too. I could get you a copy of it. He put it in.
Be nice to have a copy of it.
I'll ask him, the town, I don't know if the town kept records back that far, but, that was a
When was
town.
that done?
It's somewhere in
Done
the
in
state's got it.
74.
I do have a
75.
copy of that.
You've got it?
I'll bring one up.
Okay.
I know we had it over at Cherryfield. They were doing some work over there and they had to fix, I think Dwayne's familiar with that. So I don't know if it's anywhere near that size or not, but.
You don't get that sand around here either. Not
No,
anymore.
it was a long haul, right?
Yeah,
That's
you
right.
gotta go to Gray to get it.
So, I mean, that's just something, you know,
So-
that's big money.
I'll bring that up to you, and then what's the next thing that's gonna happen?
That was then.
Are we gonna wait to hear from this board?
Across the
Our
road,
committee wait to hear from this board before we go any further, or? Don't forget, we work for you.
No, I think we ought to take a look at the septic plan. See what the septic
There's gonna be some kind of a issue
And is there anything to say that we couldn't back a well driller up the handicap ramp and drop a well right there handy somewhere? I mean, to
there.
get
They'll make
water.
it a little wider.
I mean,
Only 100 feet from the source.
I wasn't indicating that you couldn't have water from the Allen Water Company. I was just saying that it would have to come to us.
Be 100 feet.
Which hasn't been, we haven't gone that far yet.
Well, my point was just what Jay's talking about, preliminary work. You might want to do.
Yeah, my concern wasn't getting hooked into the water line, it was
Pitch.
getting things repaired after you go through the middle of it, you know.
Right, since John has
I have-
brought
I have
that
no
up,
idea what
you
plays
want
in
us
that
to-
thing.
You let us know what direction you want us to go. Go in that direction.
do that on the 30th.
Absolutely.
Citizens, John Tibbetts, you're up next.
Okay, you've got a,
You had a question?
sorry.
I missed one thing to mention. John Porter, did you want to mention about the fire truck out of Connecticut? Because I don't think it's been brought up since.
No, and as of the cutoff date, someone put the stop to it, one person did. It could happen in the future, and if it does, it is coming here, but as of right now, it's stopped. One person put the stop to it.
Thanks, John.
You have a paper that looks like this, and I just provided it to you for your information. From the Downey Coastal Press last month, and it talks about cemetery transfer. And since we've been talking about legal things tonight, it goes right along with that, apparently there is a legal path to follow in the town accepting a cemetery, and so I would think maybe the cemetery group as well as you gentlemen would maybe want to look into that to make sure you've accepted money and care of the cemetery legally. Shall I go on?
Do we call a lawyer or do we call MMA? I would think MMA would be
I would think they
sufficient.
would.
Make sense?
Or maybe call Sandra Alley in Jonesport. I mean, she'd probably share information.
Do we need to make that a motion? Just call and find out. Okay.
The 150 committee needs to, it is our opinion that we need to meet with the town's auditor to go over. We have our records all ready for the auditor, but should we wait until the auditor is sitting here with a time-limited, to get the stuff ready for the annual report, if he finds that he's not pleased with that, then where do we go? If we wait until that date, we wouldn't have the report that the town has wanted us to have corrected. So it would make more sense if we were in January to spend just enough time with him to show him what we've done and get his okay on it. Does that make sense?
What do you think, gentlemen?
Are you keeping the same auditor, or are you changing auditors?
Keeping the same auditor.
Okay, because Bonnie said something at one of the meetings that he and Tony went to, that you needed to change him after.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you.
You had said at one meeting after you and Tony had been to the Council of Government, that something about changing an auditor every so many years, so I missed a couple of selectmen's meetings. I was just curious, are you keeping the same auditor?
That is Washington County government. That isn't what towns normally do.
No, but we did tell her that's what they do. Every 3 years, we just do it out for information and stuff.
That's all I was asking.
Yep.
We're still working with Jim.
So what would you like us to do? It's entirely up to you, but if we come down to the wire and we can't get that report ready for the annual town report, I'd just like not to have to go through that all again.
When is the audit scheduled early this year,
I
correct?
think it's the 10th of February.
Does the town have a pre-audit audit?
No.
Oh, okay.
We go to the audit and...
What it is, right?
Right. People have to get things ready.
Okay.
And then anything that we don't have or he wants, then we'd have to get while he's here,
Right. You send stuff to him prior.
some stuff to him prior, which I
You
suppose
could
that
have
could
your
go
stuff,
with it.
that could go with that stuff, because they send it up a few days, I don't know how many days prior, but it's...
Won't be many days prior, because if it's the 10th,
Right.
we don't close our books till January 30th,
Right.
so the 31st.
Well, I guess my reason for asking you is because I mean, personally, I don't want to get that report back with the auditor saying that there are things he doesn't understand. Because sitting with him, we could explain them, as we could have explained some of the things if we were sitting with him. And so this back and forth business doesn't seem to be working. If we had known in the beginning exactly how this was all to be carried out, we would have done things differently, as you know.
Just costs more money to have them go up free, whatever you guys think.
I mean, it certainly isn't my idea to cost the town more money, but if a couple of us were to spend a half hour with the auditor, it might save a lot of your decision.
Well, it's gonna get straightened out, I guess, right?
Really? Yeah, no?
I guess I have a question. The monies that were left over after everything was done with the 150th committee, that supposedly was going to take care of a flagpole and then be turned over to the town, right?
It has been turned over to the town, but Mr. Grant asked us way before that happened if we would give the town a suggestion as to what at least some of the money might be used for. And our suggestion was a flagpole for Union Hall, because there always has been, for a long time, there's been one there, and it's really not appropriate, as we found out with the Ruggles House, to put flags on an historic building, on the fabric of the building. So that would solve that problem. But so there would be money, yes.
There still would be money.
I suspect so.
Following what Jay just said, that something should be done, and remembering Jay's nice visit a year ago, up there for a half an hour. I think it was something like, what, $80, $85? So you're talking $100 or probably more.
We won't charge mileage.
Well, we didn't either.
No, wasn't implying you did.
But point is, I don't think that we want to use any of the town's money to fund that beyond what we've already done, speaking as one selectman.
Well, that was a committee that was appointed by the selectmen, which I wasn't a part of. And committee for the town, for a celebration for the town. So, I mean, if there's any question that needs to be done, then
But then he goes through the town hall, the Union Hall books at audit time, so do we send them up ahead of time to go through those, and he goes through, then we're breaking down into when he's supposed to be reviewing the town's finances as a whole. So we could keep getting that broken down. I mean, it would be easy enough to set a half hour aside while he's here, ask him to set that aside, and perhaps meet with him. And we've planned, and I made my appointment in October this year, September, I think, to make sure that it was plenty early.
Earlier than last year.
that would be okay with me. He'll do that.
Well, once again, I would caution you that if he finds any problems, I don't believe he will. But I always like to err on the right side of things if possible, and if he does, we're not going to have time, and then there'll be a whole hoorah again over those accounts, and I'd just like to get it finished, as I'm sure you gentlemen would, once and for all.
Some people would hope there was a big hoo-ha over it anyway, so.
Haven't heard any motions yet.
Could you make a motion, Al?
I make a
What's
motion.
your pleasure?
I make a motion that they go to audit just like everything else in town. Same time on the 10th. Hearing no second, I'll withdraw the motion.
Did you already do an audit on these?
Mhm.
Yeah, but when he was here, he said he was gonna go through it a little further.
Oh, sorry.
I believe he said he was expecting some things from them to finish that audit. There was 4 or 5 things
There
that
were
he
questions.
needed.
Right.
Right.
He needed some documentation, he said.
So I said he was gonna
And
get
we
it
have
a
that.
little further.
That's what he does with us, though. He tells us what we need to provide for him. We provide it, and then he goes through it. It's just the normal flow of how it goes with the annual audit.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I can see that Nancy is disputing what I'm saying, and I'm only saying this because even though she may not care if this goes on for the next 20 years, I care very much. And I'm just trying to suggest to you that I don't care about going to Ellsworth to see him, but this is what we've put up with ever since committee began. And you were right, Jay.
It started out as $60 difference. It certainly cost us a lot more than $60.
Well, the town's very fortunate that the committee raised enough money so that we turned back to you more money than this will ever cost the town, has cost the town. So I don't think anybody can bemoan that fact. Well, could I go on?
Sure, go
I can
ahead.
finish.
We're not going to do anything on that one,
I
I guess, so.
can see that.
Yep.
I wanted just a point of information. It's the last thing I have. I'm wondering, as are a number of other people who have seen the huge and wonderful sign at the intersection of the Montegale Road and the Tibbetstown Road. So the sign, the likes of which we don't have anywhere else in our town. And who paid for this glorious thing? The town or the state?
I guess I haven't seen it. What is it?
Well, it has a number of Montegale Pond, 3 miles, Tibbetstown, 1 mile, Columbia, 3 miles.
With arrows going toward...
Yeah, well, yes.
Okay,
And
I haven't seen it either. So.
unfortunately, Grantville was left off, and probably should be added. Some people who go to Picket Mountain are concerned that Picket Mountain wasn't on it, and Route 9 wasn't on it with the mileage. No, I'm just joking. But I wondered if the town paid for that, say.
I think that's a state aid road, isn't it?
I can speak on that. Unfortunately, I am the director of the signage in the region from all the way to Fort Kent to Pittsfield, and one of my sign projects for the community is to upgrade confusing intersections. That intersection, I've lived here all my life, and people have gone to Grantville and asked where the Barrens were. The Barrens is not a place. Montague is a place. That's why Montague is on the sign. Grantville is a fictional place as long as Tibbetstown, but Tibbetstown is much bigger. There is no such thing as Tibbetstown. There is no such thing as Grantville. Look in your Gazette and find out. I had to go through special permissions to get that on that board. That is a state sign. That's a state intersection. The town was good enough to pay the money to fix the intersection because the state wouldn't, because it's not in that jurisdiction. We fixed up the intersection and signed it. Since then, I have gotten numerous compliments on the signage and so forth.
It all looks very good.
And the money came from your tax dollars when you paid the pumps. It came from the state.
I noticed somebody had to go in there on a hot rod and just face it.
Oh, yes. Well, you've got to have one of those every time. But I think it came out very well, and I was very pleased and got numerous compliments on it. And we changed the stop sign to a yield sign because we did a traffic study up there. And unlike the traffic study we did out here, I won on that one, and we put up a yield sign because that's what is warranted. So that's why it's there, and it's not going to change.
Well, I was just questioning who was paying for it, that's all.
You are.
I thought there was
But the town is not paying for it. Probably we should have an article in the warrant next year to get the town to adopt the Montague Road up to cattle bars.
It already has. It already is.
It's a town road.
No, but it's in the town. It's not a town way, no.
Well, I know it's in the town.
Right, it's not a town way. It's a county road. That's a county road.
Who pays for it? Who should be paying for resurfacing?
That's a county road that was disputed how many years ago?
Yeah.
The county way up to there. I'm not going to get into it.
No.
Right now, it's a public way. It's private property and it's a public way. You'd have to get your lawyers to do that. I don't know.
The government initially paved it.
Right.
I'm sure they didn't go and ask anybody. They probably did it, I imagine.
It was a county
Oh,
road.
you had to get permission from all landowners before they get the road done. That was all.
Is it?
Thank you.
What's your pleasure on the 150th financial accounting? Are they going to go to an audit? Are they going to go with our regular audit, or what's the scoop? Seems though we ought to do something, unless you want to postpone it till the next meeting.
John, I think I heard him say, I think I heard you volunteer to go and do that.
A couple of us will, the folks that are needed to do that.
Then I make the motion that we take enough out of that money that was left over to fund having the auditor for a half hour or whatever time it would take to make sure that this is going to agree so that it can go in the town report.
I think if we do that, we'd be going against John's wishes before, because I suggested we take money out of that for the last audit, and he said you didn't have any right to do it. So I think we got to take the money from somewhere else. And the only other place is administration. That would fit, I would think.
Well, respectfully, Mr. Grant, I did say that, but you were the guys with the authority, not me. And I guess I have changed my mind.
Had more authority than you thought.
I appreciate you remembering that.
motion? Repeat it, please.
You want to repeat that?
Mm-hmm.
I make the motion that John takes the information that they've compiled to our auditor and see if he now agrees that that's appropriate to put in the town warrant.
And take the
Money from where?
money from the leftover.
Yeah. That means it would come from surplus.
It hasn't been,
It hasn't been
moved in-
categorized.
Right,
as
it doesn't
surplus.
get moved to surplus until the auditor.
Been moved and seconded to follow Bun's motion. All those in favor? I'm going to abstain, so 2 in favor, 1 abstention. Any other citizens? Yes, Tony?
Just a thought that came to me while we were talking about the signs, and Mike was talking about the signs. Out on Four Corners, going across the Tibbetstown Road, there's a little tiny blue sign that says the village, and you really can't see it unless you stop just about in the post to lean in.
I don't even know who put that
And
up.
I know it, but my thoughts are, while we were talking about comments and how nice that sign, and I haven't seen it up there looking at it, but just a thought. What if we took some of that leftover money from the 150 and put a nice village sign out there, and pointing to whatever direction you want to? Just a thought.
I think we've got one at each end of town already. I think that would just confuse the issue.
Well, you're talking about confusing intersections, and that one tends to be confusing if you're trying
You know, you
to
could
tell
have
somebody,
something-
turn this direction to go.
Tibbetstown, Centerville this way,
Yeah.
Village this way. Just a thought. It looks kind of like it's
That
going to
would
fall
have to
down
go
any
before the
day.
state. That
That's safe.
Town can put up, into city signs, wherever it's at discretion, on each end of town. Basically, like the church has, they have a sign at each end of town and so forth. If the town wants a sign at that intersection saying Tibbetstown and Columbia Falls, pointing in different directions, which would,
And also Centerville.
yep, right, I can do that, that's not a problem, the state can do that. I mean, if that's a request from the town, that's fine, you know, I don't see the controversy, I always lived here.
Right.
I mean, Tibbetstown Road, if you're coming to town, you're coming from Machias, you're gonna take the first entrance in. If you're coming from the other way, you take the first entrance in. That's a neutral entrance, which is a new road, which never was there before.
My comment is basically, there's a sign there now,
It
but
looks terrible.
I think
it's
we should
almost,
take it
it's almost
down.
going to
Yeah,
fall
well,
over.
we've said that for long, I don't even know who put it up.
Yes.
I don't know who put it up, and I don't know.
I put that up.
See?
I put it up long before I was a select person, at the bidding of Barbara Driscoll. She had the sign made.
If the town wishes to, and just tells me to go ahead, we ain't got to vote on it, but if you'd like a sign on each side of that intersection pointing to Tibbetstown and Centerville, and the one to Columbia Falls. I can't really say Columbia Falls Village, it's hard to say that.
And I'm not...
But Columbia
but
Falls
Mike,
could be in that direction, that's fine.
You know, Tibbetstown, Centerville is what I was...
But I do need, one thing that they do require now, the MUTCD requires mileage, so it's gonna have to be, you know, Tibbetstown is probably gonna be 4 miles from that intersection. Centerville is gonna be, it goes to the, when you do a directional sign, it's supposed to go to the post office. Post office is the center of town. I had to get special permission to put Tibbetstown and Montague on that sign. It had to go through the governor. That's how much pull he has, but it does have to go through the, legally, it doesn't actually see his desk, but it has to go legal because it's supposed to go to a city center and it's supposed to go to a post office. So Columbia Falls will be less than a mile. I could put foot on that, I assume.
Columbia Falls, you just put, you're already here.
But if you want it directional, it's got to be directional and it's got to have mileage.
Could you say Columbia Falls Center?
I will find that out.
Downtown.
I will,
Yeah.
downtown I've seen before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, you know, so I'll find out, but I can make it happen.
Yeah, again, my point was, it's just falling down, basically, so...
We'll do a new one.
Let's take it down, Tony. Let's take that sign down.
And the guy that put it up should take it down.
I can do that. I don't have a 268, but I got an 024 that'll cut it right down, no problem.
Maybe you can borrow Rick.
Yes. No, he's got...
Only if he wants cut circles out of the post.
out of that.
Oh, you want to,
Make a motion to adjourn to December 30th.
I'll second that motion. Moved and seconded to adjourn to December 30th, 2015. All those in favor? Three in favor, none